Welcome, everyone, to yet another episode of Disruption Talks. This is Christmas coming early, essentially, 3 days or 4 days, depending on your location and what kind of Christmas you celebrate. This is the early Christmas present that Santa and Netguru are giving you. Today's Disruption Talk is with Chanel, and we're going to be talking about the future of the luxury sector. How will the trends of today and predictions of tomorrow shape the industry? Our guest today is Carlota Rodriguez-Benito and the head of innovation at Chanel Iberia, because there are a lot of Chanel's geographically correct, Carlota?
Correct.
Great to have you. Please, it's our pleasure. So, of course, during Disruption Talks, we invite top experts to discuss digital acceleration, winning strategies, innovation, and scaling products. And today, with you, we're going to talk about a lot of things to do with innovation and Chanel. And also about your book, because you have one, right?
Exactly. I'm very excited and thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Pleasure is all ours. I think we owe it to the audience, given the recent news, to mention that Chanel has a new CEO, Lena Nair, if I'm saying that correctly. After 30 years at Unilever, a fast-moving consumer goods brand, she's jumping onto the helm of Chanel. From what I've read, it was actually the thing that it was a privately held company, and right now this is a first CEO that's being external. Any thoughts on this piece of news?
I actually think it's a great change, and I think it'll bring a lot of positive things for the future at Chanel. It's true that we're still one of the only luxury companies that is still privately owned by two brothers, the Vertemer family. And it's great news for all of us to have such a big and such a strong woman coming into a CEO position at Chanel. And I think every change of this genre of this type will just push the company forward. And I'm very excited to see what will happen next.
I've read the exact same sentiments online in all the articles that it's external CEO. That thank you for mentioning the name. I didn't want to mispronounce it of the family, so thank you for mentioning that. And of course, the fact that she is a female CEO and that she's from India, and a lot of sentiments that there's finally an Indian CEO at the helm of a luxury brand. It's internationally renowned. So coming back to you and Chanel. The exciting world of luxury, fashion, beauty. So you have insights, firsthand experience working at a globally recognized luxury brand like Chanel, but also you will be able to give us the perspective as the author of your book, Luxe for Z, Shaping a Landscape for Luxury in 2040. I personally am hoping to receive it as soon as I can. I've
Yes,
contributed to
thank
it.
you for contributing.
Looking
Thank
forward to
you.
reading it. So maybe you could tell us a bit about yourself, a short personal introduction. How did Carlota become the Carlota who is the head of innovation at Chanel Iberia? And how does the Carlota write a book, the one that we are about to see?
Great. I would love to tell you a little bit about my life story. I think I should start from the beginning, just because my upbringing and the way that I lived since I was a younger Carlota has really shaped the Carlota today. So I was born in the U.S. My parents are originally from Spain, and now I live in Spain. So people are like, "Oh, you live in Spain again? You're back?" And I honestly never lived in Spain before, so first time. And it's been 2 years now. I've always felt very Spanish, and so it's nice to come here and live the actual Spanish culture, which now I'm realizing maybe I'm less Spanish than I thought I was. I have a lot of American and sides of all over the world as well. So I was born in the US, and my dad's job made us move a lot of times, 11 times to be precise, in 6 different countries. So it was a lot of moving, of course, but it was one of the most enriching things, and one of the things that I can not thank my parents enough for having this kind of a lifestyle, because honestly, saw a lot, moved a lot, met a lot of people, a lot of cultures, and I think this has really shaped who I am today and why I do what I do and why I like what I do. So basically, I not too long ago did my first book called Beauty as It Is. This book was about the perception of beauty around the world. So moving a lot. I was exposed to a lot of different cultures. And there was one thing that I was always very interested in because I was a ballerina. So my life was complete unconstant all the time. I was moving all the time. And I didn't really have anything to hold on to some roots. Every time I moved, there was a different language, there was a different culture. The only thing that stayed the same was basically my family and my dance, my ballet. So there was one thing that I found very interesting since I was young, actually, the perception of beauty that there was through dance and the different kind of perception of beauty I saw on the streets, right? That people perceived different things as beautiful. And so after realizing that my career was not meant to be in the Secret Service, which is where I thought I was going to be when I was in college, I decided to write a book on the perceptions of beauty around the world. So I wrote this first book called Beauty as It Is. And then this book kind of brought me where I am today, not in innovation, in the beauty sector at Chanel. And then slowly, one thing led to the next. And after a project that ended up not happening, we realized the necessity to have an innovation team and basically created an innovation team at Chanel. Then have been working in this innovation team, which I'm excited to talk about more in the next hour. And then I basically decided also to write a book a year ago, almost now, about the future of luxury. And this was just a question that kept on going in my head. What will happen to the future of luxury after everything that was happening so fast in it during COVID, right? In 2020, everything was going, we were seeing from step-by-step changes and very sequential changes. We now suddenly saw exponential changes in our industry and in every industry and in our life in general. So there was this ringing question in my head of what is going to happen. And I ended up deciding to write my second book. And here I am writing the second one, still in processes, and interviewed people as well for it. And yeah, I think I give you a little bit of a snippet of how I've gotten here.
Definitely you have. I absolutely love it. And I'm thinking where to I begin to unpack it because first of all, I've had a similar situation in terms of moving new cultures, Moscow, Austria. I've actually lived in Spain, in Barcelona, and in Madrid. I've studied in the UK, so I completely get what you're saying with regards to the constant change and the roots sort of still yet to be deployed anywhere.
I
So
actually lived in Russia.
really, I live in
Yes,
Moscow,
in St.
but I was
Petersburg.
sick. I was sick, so I don't remember that much. But still, definitely good to establish this kind of familiarity and super interesting element about the ballerina part that you
Mhm.
have had. So you mentioned in terms of beauty as it is the book, but would you say that what you said about that book is the answer to a question, why luxury? Why did you decide to follow luxury? Is it the same answer in terms of why beauty, why luxury, or is there a different answer to this question?
There's actually a complete different answer to this
Let's
question, but it has something to do with the book. So basically, for my first book, for Beauty as It Is, I interviewed 65 people in the beauty industry around the world to write it. So I was basically analyzing these perceptions of beauty in the beauty industry and how they were impacting beauty businesses and how then therefore we would see these different types of perceptions of beauty that were also pushed by brands or by the culture. And so one of the people I interviewed for this book is actually the general manager, the CEO of Chanel Iberia. And so I interviewed him for the book, and almost 3 months later, he ended up interviewing me for my previous job that I was doing at Chanel Iberia. And so basically, this is how I ended up in the luxury industry. However, my dad, which has always been a big motor for me in my career, he always told me when I was younger, and I remember that he would tell me that luxury was a place where he'd see me. There was a lot of links that really shaped a perfect kind of fit for me in the luxury industry. And now looking back, especially being at Chanel, I see this link. And so ballet is a huge part of Chanel. And there was a big part of Les Ballets Russes as well. So doing a lot of the costumings for the shows that Diaghilev was doing and Stravinsky. And so that was very interesting as well. Russian is a very big culture part. Ernest Beau, which is the person that made number 5, the perfume, was from the aristocratic family perfumer world. And so he then came and helped Gabrielle Chanel make the number 5. So there was Russia and a lot of different other parts of the roots of Chanel as it is. And then also there was all this French side of me. I lived in the US, in Latin America, but I also lived in Switzerland, and there kind of started my French side of me, I guess, or speaking French. I lived in Geneva specifically, and then started going to Normandy every summer. And so as well, Normandy is a big part of Gabrielle Chanel's life. So basically, there's all of these components that kind of just came along. Now I basically work 50% of my job is in French. And who would have known, right? When my parents would tell me when I was little, you have to go to French class, you have to go to French school. I was always like, I just rather go with my friends, right? And now there's just such an obvious just pathway for me to be in the luxury industry, and now have developed such a big passion and curiosity on how the luxury industry will keep being this relevant industry in the future, and this industry of dreaming, of desire, and of just kind of making a story and really having these consumers and customers fall in love with a brand and with the idea of a brand and the lifestyle the brand gives them.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, storytelling is a huge element, if not the cornerstone of any luxury brand that really wants to connect with their audience or their prospective audience. So, well, first of all, I think it's necessary to say, on behalf of Chanel, major shout out to your dad for making all of these things, all of these pieces of the puzzle ready for you to be the head of innovation. But let's make sure, because I don't want to ask you questions that are not related directly to your job. So, as the head of innovation, what is it exactly that you do on a day-to-day basis? You were recently promoted to that position, to the head of innovation. So what is the current mission? What is the day-to-day? What does it look like in terms of how do you move the needle for Chanel in terms of innovation?
My day-to-day is hard to explain because every day is different. So I think that's just kind of the core of being in an innovation team and really leading and living this kind of innovative workflow. I think I can start from the beginning in order for you and the audience to really understand how this team came about. I was speaking before about this project that we were working on in 2020 that basically didn't really come out or didn't come about as we expected, and then created this team. So I'll backtrack a little bit, and then I'll tell you a little bit about how we work as a team and what my day-to-day really looks like. So in 2020, we were experiencing a lot of different changes in the industry, and we started working on a project that was around augmented reality. And so this project was a completely transversal project through all of the departments. So here locally, we have 8 departments, and we have the 3 really watches and fine jewelry, fragrance and beauty, and fashion, and the boutiques. So we basically have these 3 pillars at Chanel and in Chanel Iberia. And so we were basically building up this project that was going to have to do with a lot of a client experience that was omni-channel, that was going around fragrance and beauty and working with augmented reality. And so basically it was such a transversal project that it was one of the, I think, really big obstacles of how does one do a project that is involving most departments. And there was not a lot of business as usual that was kind of working as this project was building up to be. And so after 6 months of working hard on this project and presenting it to many people and trying to get people on board, basically we were about to launch it and it got put on hold. And so for many different reasons, it was put on hold. And this just started the conversation of, okay, this project was put on hold, but this doesn't mean that we have realized that we need a team to push these kind of projects forward in the future. And so this conversation happened about a year ago. And about a year ago, we decided to have an innovation hub here locally in Chanel Iberia. So we worked with many of the different teams around Chanel that are doing innovation. So there's a big team. The global team of innovation is in New York. Then the APAC team in APAC region. There's an IT innovation team in Paris. So they do corporate as well. So we were working all in trying to build this ecosystem. And basically we first built an ecosystem with internal and external partners of that were going to push us in the direction of innovation. And then we basically created a team here in Chanel Iberia, and we're a team of 6. And I think the greatest thing about all 6 of us is that we are not experts in anything, really. I would really call us generalists, but what we do have in common is that we all really have this hunger and curiosity to pinpoint and identify problems and then try to do everything we can to find plausible solutions. So we find my team, basically what we do is we have 3 different pillars where we identify problems in. First is synergy and collaboration. So very internal. So innovations on the future of work, on how teams can work differently to have more synergy, more collaboration between each other. Then the second pillar is efficiency and optimization. So we basically work on processes, on ways of doing things, on systems. How can we make them more efficient and optimize the resources we are using to get things done in a better, more sustainable, et cetera, in a better way. And then our third one is client experience. So this is the only one that really touches our clients or the outside of Chanel. So client experience as well, it's a big part of our team, and we work on 2 different segments. So client experience for fragrance and beauty, and client experience in the boutique, which is 2 different clients. We try to have a lot of different people from the company, so in the business, join us as well to help us push these projects forward. And also people externally that also either advise us or really work with us as partners to push our projects and solutions forward. So when we identify a solution, and this is basically coming back to your first question, what do you do in your day-to-day? Basically, we work on projects. We work on POCs, so on proof of concepts. We test them. And our job is really to be a funnel to take all of the problems that can be happening, dissect them and see which ones can have a bigger impact on our business, take those that really go into our manifesto as a team and our key objectives. We work on them to find plausible solutions. We test these plausible solutions, get the results, and either infuse them back into business as usual in Chanel Iberia if they're things that we have tested and they have a positive result. So basically, we give the ownership to business as usual at Chanel Iberia, or we scale these projects upwards to global teams or to regional teams to see if these are solutions that they want to go forward with in the future if it's something that we need more of a global support.
Okay. I mean, you've managed to cover another question that I wanted to ask about the take on both internal and external innovation strategies. So I can easily skip that one. But you mentioned customer-facing innovation, and here's a question from the audience. I'm interested in the answer as well. As one of the few brands in the world that is able to create demand and set the trends of the industry, how does Chanel incorporate client feedback into their work? What are the innovation methods, tools at your disposal that you view as key? And if I might add on top of this question, because the answer might be we don't really incorporate, we tell the client. I mean, Chanel does have such a strong standing that in some sense it's not your client, please tell us what you want, but much rather we dictate the fashion trends and we will tell you what you want, much like Apple or other sort of luxury brands. So please tell me, which one is it? Who's right, who's wrong here?
So basically, I think this is a very interesting question, and thank you for the question, Radek. I think that it's honestly such a honor to work for a brand that really does dictate the trends and what people want in different moments of their life. However, I can speak on my end on how we do locally and the projects that we do here in Chanel Iberia. I can speak in in the voice of our team and how we
Yes,
do
of
our
course.
projects to make sure that we do take in some client feedback. So basically, I'll give you a quick example. We have a big launch coming up, and so basically for a big launch, there's different guidelines for each market and different guidelines for each region. And so basically, there's a lot of things that we can do in local markets in order to make sure that those guidelines are actually responding to the needs of our customers and to the needs of our clients. So basically our clients locally are clients that demand certain things. Nowadays, clients demand a lot more than they used to. They're so informed, especially when we're talking about fragrance and beauty, right? They're so informed on things, and there's so much content out there on different social media platforms and different influencers and different key people that also dictate trends, that we also are interested in seeing how we can actually adapt some of the launches that we have all over the world to our local market. And so we do work on projects like that where we do focus groups and we try to take away the most information possible to make sure that launches, to make sure that different product lines are sold in and are really um, told, and the story of each product is told in the way that will take on the client, especially culturally, in the right way.
Okay. That's a solid response. And Radek, thank you for the question. And dear audience, please make sure to shower us with questions because this might be your unique chance to get an answer from Carlota from Chanel. So I wanted to draw upon what you mentioned earlier, that the birth of this innovation team was an immediate response to basically a realization that this is necessary, and sort of this story of uh, cause results. I think it's the best example for any company that is still before jumping ship onto the innovation path, because that's essentially how you have to come to realize that we need a team. This isn't something that's going to happen just somehow organically. This is something that has to be structured. But then again, would you say that innovation teams, units should be more isolated, given a high degree of autonomy, or should they work as closely as possible with business units, in your experience at Chanel Iberia?
Great. I really like your question because it's a question that we asked ourselves at the beginning when we were creating this team. When we created this team, we were basically given a white page, and it was really make of the team what you think will be the best way to move forward with an innovation team. And so basically, this is where we really had a lot of input of different innovation teams in our internal ecosystem and external ecosystem, as well as an innovation advisor and our CEO here. And so this was a big question that came about. Should we isolate this team? So basically, or should we really keep it in business as usual? And the interesting part about this team is that at the moment, I am the only full-time person member of this team. So the rest of the team has a percentage of time that they dedicate to other parts of the business. For example, the marketing team or the PR team, the watches, fine jewelry, retail team. So we really have a transversal team all across the three divisions, and they work a percentage of their time with their day-to-day and then a percentage of their time in the innovation hub. And so what this has created is one, it's true that having this really business oriented mindset really helps us identify the correct problems, because they're problems that they see in their day to day, and they're problems that we can actually tackle and see happen really quickly. So that's the really the beauty of being in a local market is you can really quickly see the change that you do. Although innovation can last 3 to 4 to 5 to many years to actually show its results. Being in a local market can actually expedite that process of really seeing the results that you're doing. And then the part of isolation is also very important. So we try as well to do blocks of time where we work on innovation projects solely, and we do offsites where we work only on, for example, not too long ago, we went to an offsite to solely work on blockchain and to work on a future project we'll be doing on blockchain. So basically, this isolation is really important, especially because in the day-to-day, it's hard to step back from emails, step back from problems that can happen in day-to-day and trying to just solve them, and really have that brain space to be creative, to think outside of the box, right? Like this very cliche sentence, but really to think of things that maybe we wouldn't have thought, or really foment this collective intelligence that we love to do, and really group brainstorm and take these big moments out of the week to really be able to push this and catalyze these type of projects. However, it's also, so I'm kind of in the middle because our team does both. We do isolate of our day-to-days when we work on innovation projects. However, our members of the team are in the business and the core business, really on the core business in the field. So we're in a local market. So we really have direct consumer touch points. So this also helps us identify problems that maybe from a global perspective or from a corporate perspective, you have more of a distance from these on terrain, on field problems. So I do think that both of them are very interesting parts. Our team does both, and for now it's worked for us. However, it is a tricky question, because I don't know if it were one or the other. How it would, in my experience, I'm living a hybrid situation right now. So that's what I can say about it.
So sure, I mean that was a very good answer in terms of I would say the theory in practice of it all, but I want to separate the next question from theory in total and just throw you into the deep end. Top priorities and challenges for you in 2022. Of course, and of course, this is just to recognize this for you and for the audience. We are having a conversation with regards to answers from Chanel Iberia. We're not having answers for the whole conglomerate of Chanel, but when we speak about the industry, we will not just be speaking about Chanel only, but it's the entirety of the luxury space. So there we will be able to address it much more. But here I'm asking you specifically about you and your upcoming 365 days at the head of innovation.
Well, thank you so much for asking that question and for specifying that, because it is true that we of course have company whole objectives, and then we do have local objectives. And so I can talk to you about our local objectives as a team for next year. My first and foremost big objective and challenge I think we will be facing next year is really making this innovation culture really come as a part of the whole business in the local market. So right now it's our team, and we have been pushing these innovation projects and catalyzing them. And for next year, the big challenge, and what I really hope that we'll be able to bring forward, is a system where innovation gets really absorbed and innovation gets to be part of everyone's life in Chanel Iberia. That innovation doesn't come out of one team, because innovation is not something that comes from a team. It's something that comes from within everyone. And the best innovation projects come from ideas and problems that are seen by the people as a whole. So, my biggest challenge is going to be involving the whole company to really have them catalyze and bring on innovation projects isolated from as well the innovation hub. So we are facilitators and catalyzers of these projects, and I think the ecosystem is one of the most important things I've realized is vital for a team to have an ecosystem that they can back, and that they can use to get better and know more. And it's really impossible to know everything that's going on, especially in the innovation space. So these innovation partners really help us get a sense of what's going on, not only in the luxury industry, of course, in the innovation space in general, to be able to really serve as facilitators and connectors with the rest of the company. So next year, we will be doing many more projects with people and members that are not in the Innovation Hub right now. We are 6 catalyzers in the Innovation Hub. To be exact, there's 4 catalyzers, 1 innovation driver, and which is basically my right hand for everything. And then me, which heads the team. So we really wish to have external members as hub partners in Chanel Iberia to push these projects forward and really involve everyone in the mindset of innovation, because innovation is really a mindset, and there's so much space for contribution in this area of work and innovation, because really it's making processes better, making things that already exist better, or actually working on disruptive innovation and working on things that could change the future of our business. And right now everything's moving so quickly that we need all hands on deck. So this is my biggest challenge for the next year, is to, now we've created a team, we've consolidated this team, we've basically had a white paper to do from A to Z of everything that was going to really encompass the team. And we are an innovation team. So every day, every week, every month, we iterate, we do things better, we change things if it's not working, and we're very flexible in that way. And so in the same way, infusing the mindset of innovation in Chanel Iberia will be the big challenge that I have and that my team has for the next year.
A challenge that I'm sure you will crack, no problem, by what I'm hearing so far. So let's smoothly transition into the industry approach, where we can talk more freely, and also you can speak from your experience as the author of the book and your general interests that surely are not just to do with Chanel, but with the entire space of other luxury brands, how they interact with each other. Also, when I was listening to you talk, I came to this conclusion. Tell me if I'm wrong. That luxury brands will always enjoy a very strong loyalty from their fans, or from customers, or even from very aspiring customers, right? People who have not yet even been able to buy that Chanel bag or that Birkin, but still they really want that to be a point in their life when that happens. So you will have a lot of customer feedback, a lot of people who really care. For example, even just perfumes and fragrances, the amount of people who you have who write blogs and for example, are huge fans of a specific formulation before a specific ingredient was changed. So I'm guessing that that is always very helpful, and you get to decide whether you use that feedback or not. But I don't think any other brand has this element of people who just emotionally care that much, right?
It's honestly it's such a special brand because when we're speaking about Chanel, because there is so much emotion, as you say, and so much admiration for the brand, and it's absolutely remarkable to see everything, how detailed, how um, really detail oriented, and everything is thought out, that is made and created, and really our brand supports itself and really goes forward because of our big creators. We are a creation led brand, and there's three divisions and three creative teams that really make the difference and set the trend with these big creators, these big know-hows that we have in each division. And this is really what makes Chanel what it is today. And there's a lot of really interesting things that are happening and that will happen in the future to make sure that this happens in every single aspect and area that we will have in our future lives. And I think this can segue well into the second part of the interview, that I will speak now in the name of the luxury industry and in the name of Carlota as an author. And as an author, that I've been writing a book called LUXE for Z, as you mentioned, shaping a future landscape for luxury in 2040. And so this is basically the book I've been working on for almost a year, and we'll keep working on it, and it will come out in September 2022. Basically a book that talks about what will happen in our future first, right? What will our life look like in 20 years? And in order for us to even start to think about luxury in 20 years, we should first think about what our life will look like in 20 years. And then how does luxury have a space in our lives in 20 years? And so this space is super interesting. I'm completely passionate of all of this. And I think that if there's one thing that I've had since I was little, and I think that maybe this is fomented by reason why I explained how many times I've moved and had to adapt to new cultures, new languages, new many things, because it's this curiosity that is kind of a boiling feeling in my brain. Sometimes I need to find the answers. So basically, this book is not at all a prediction. So I do not have a crystal ball, and I am not telling anyone what's going to happen in the future. It is simply a possible future landscape that could look at to see what luxury could actually look like. And just touching on basically some of the big points that we will see happen, or we will see push the trends of the future in the luxury space.
Definitely that's also what I wanted to talk about. And just to wrap up the first element that you mentioned, that yeah, I mean, this is so much more than the typical innovation of a brand, because here you're talking about cultural relevance and identity, and it doesn't matter if it's Chanel number 5 or if it's the Tiffany blue. It's something that is so much more outside of the cultural common consciousness of hey, I know a brand, I like it a little bit. No, I've seen this in the movies, like I've heard about it in a song, I've seen it reworked in a painting. So this is something that escapes the typical realm of just sort of brand customer interaction. This is something at a much more elevated level. But coming back to the book, and I liked what you mentioned about being the constant misfit and basically having to adapt as a surviving mechanism, really, not that you just do it so well, but you have to do it so well.
No
But on the
choice.
book, on the book, we read on the pre-order website that as a person working in the luxury industry, you believe that luxury will go through and adapt to one of the most pivotal eras of its lifetime in the next 2 decades. Um, I could ask you just to elaborate on that, but I want to make it slightly trickier because we have some questions in the comments about the metaverse, about the NFTs. So I want to perhaps just narrow it down towards the concept of digital ownership, because right now all
Okay.
of the brands, most of the time, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't really figure out an example right now that any luxury brand is selling products that are digital only, or highly digitized. Right now we're talking about a very physical approach. Like I have a scarf, I have glasses, but right now we're entering the world in which there is an anticipation that soon those same glasses will be worn on your avatar. So, can you at least indicate what are the signs that this is going to be the most pivotal era? Anything outside of what I've mentioned, or is this like the pillar of change?
There's many pillars of change
Okay.
in my point of view. Everyone's speaking about the metaverse, right? I remember when I was first writing the book, just I mean, a couple of like maybe 4 months ago, I remember telling close friends, family, people that would ask me in the industry about how my book was going, and I would think to myself like, wow, I'm writing about something that people are going to think like this is insane. And then the whole Mark Zuckerberg came out with Meta and started explaining what the metaverse was. And everyone's basically like, whoa, the metaverse, it's this new thing. And so now everyone's talking about it. And I've heard a lot of 3D modelers and people in the gaming industry that have been working on this for years now saying like, oh my goodness, thank you. Now I can speak about what I've been doing for the past 3 years in a more easy way, and people are actually interested in what I'm saying. They don't think I'm crazy. So basically, I think this is one of the most the biggest parts that will change how we live. And so this Web3, the metaverse, the whole change into the blockchain, um, everything that has to do really with the neo renaissance, right? This is a neo renaissance. There's many ways to call this moment that we're living right now, but this is really a big pillar. Then I also see other pillars. We can kind of talk about different ones. There is a big sustainability pillar that they're a little bit intertwined with each other, each big pillar, but one, there's the internet of things, the internet of people, and the internet of places. So we're basically going into not only the internet of things. This is the thing we used to talk about before was the internet of things. Now, as you mentioned, we will have avatars, and this is something that we're very much on a track to all have avatars, and we slowly have started having avatars. I'm sure everyone has like those emojis that look like them, and on Snapchat there's those avatars that look like us, and slowly but surely we will start having avatars that look exactly like us, that maybe are completely different, and that show a different side of you on in the metaverse or in a gaming platform. Basically, the metaverse is a big word that means many things today. Is it virtual reality, extended reality, mixed reality? There's all of these big questions, right? And how really ownership will happen in those worlds, and how the luxury industry will come into it. That's another whole era. But so basically, I see the one you mentioned, the internet of things, people, and places, metaverse, blockchain, etc. Then also a big part on personalization, and the AI technology that will actually make personalization almost flawless in the future, where AI will know. Some futurists like Jason Silva or Ray Kurzweil and other big futurists call this the singularity moment. And the singularity moment is where basically it's a parallel to a singularity moment is really a black hole. It's the moment in the black hole where gravity laws don't really apply anymore. And so it's the parallel of what will happen to us, where there's a moment where no rules apply, and technology knows more and knows more about you. And it's not in the scary sense. I'm a very big future optimist, and I think that it's really interesting to see how different cultures see the future and how different cultures see technology in their lives in the future. But for example, in Asia, technology is very well seen, and that's another big proponent that they have in their culture, and we see it more as a Terminator-esque kind of thing where, oh my goodness, AI is going to know more about me than me. But it's true that that AI will be a really big catalyzer for us to have more personalization in things, virtual assistants that will be able to help us better make decisions about what we buy, why we buy it, how we buy it, our desires, what brands we want, etc. And then there's also a very big part on experience. There's going to be, our points of sale going to disappear because everything's going on in the metaverse and digitalized, etc. I personally think they are not, and they're only here to stay. They're just going to change and have to morph into another way of interacting with the client, another way of engaging with the client, which is how to experience a unique moment in time with the brand that will then make you maybe have another point where you will have you will consume one of their products, or you will actually make a purchase or have them in mind for a future purchase, etc. But really, points of sale and physical points of sale will become this sort of place where you will be able to just have an experience with a brand. And so those for me are the three big pillars. One, Internet of Things. Two, personalization. The third thing is the sustainability. And sustainability is something that we will see not only in recycling, upcycling, secondhand selling, but also in huge innovations in materials, where personally believe that luxury companies are the ones that really have the resources to push innovation for materials and new ways of supply chain to its limit because of all the resources they have, and really make sure to be able to push a more transparent traceability on the products we use, the materials we use, all the way from the raw materials to the manufacturing, how to make manufacturing less impactful, have less CO2 emissions, less impactful to the environment, and really going forward in that whole sense. And so I think also there's a lot of link between the three of them. So there's AI and the Internet of Things, and also using the metaverse is going to be more sustainable as well if we want to do metaverse concerts. And I mean, we only see it now with Ariana Grande's concert, Travis Scott's concert on Fortnite. These are just crazy advancements. But anyways, I could go on 1,000 tangents on all of these topics. So I'll let you ask me the next question so we can focus on one of them.
That's very thoughtful of you, but I'm at no point am I tired of listening you talk, because you're saying very interesting things, especially that I do have a personal stake, I would say, in that space, and I haven't thought about what you mentioned in terms of higher degree of personalization. That of course it's not just about the fact that you will be able to own it, but your avatar. That, I mean, right now, isn't your Instagram profile you're very dumbed down, but still it's your avatar. Like, people interact with you as your handle, with the couple pictures that you have. It's not a full 3D or fully dimensional experience. It's, it's somehow geometrical. You get a picture, you get a video. It's not the full thing, but it gives you an idea of the person that you're interacting with. Like, people follow a specific creator for the vibe that they receive through consuming their content. So here, that was something that was a solid eye opener for me. And of course, what you mentioned about sustainability, like even with the concerts, not just about the organization of the concert, but there's no carbon footprint of people having to go to that concert, right? Or in the metaverse, if I will want to own a Chanel bag for any reason, I will be able to have that with non-existent costs of production, so also very little footprint on the environment. And lastly, I think, tell me if you agree, the problem of counterfeit items, will that completely disappear with the metaverse and the NFTization of it all? Because how it's much more difficult to make a counterfeit product if it's all digitally certified, right? Not just you look for the serial number, you look for the specific branding. You don't Google how to spot a fake Chanel or fake whatever thing. Here you just know if it's the real thing or not, right?
Well, I'm going to start with your first remarks. I think that yeah, it's really interesting, especially because we are already living, as you say, as humans that have avatars in our digital space, and where people show their best life, their best selves, and so having avatars in a metaverse would just heighten this, right? And make you, well, there was a study not too long ago done by DressX. They said 9% of people buy and purchase clothing just to feature them on their social media. And so imagine if those clothes that you just bought to feature on social media, if we want to say a bag, a luxury shoe, a dress that you will wear once and just for that image. Imagine if you could just have that in a digital wardrobe, right? That your avatar could wear, or that even you could wear digitally. And so in images, etc. So basically, I think this is such an interesting space, especially because now we're seeing, yes, there's a direct to consumer, and now we're going to see direct to avatar D2A, which is really going to be, can I sell directly to your avatar? And I think it's really important to highlight that 3 billion people, almost a third of the population in the world, are in some format of gaming. And so if you're in some format of gaming and you're living right now, we see in Fortnite with different skins and different luxury companies like Balenciaga and Balmain and Gucci and all of these companies working with different metaverses like Roblox and Decentralized Land and all of these different metaverses that you can buy things for your avatar. This is a complete different concept, in where you are going to have complete ownership of these things through NFTs or different things of this matter. But yes, as you say, after you were talking about ownership and counterfeit. And so basically, I'm not an expert on this counterfeit, because actually I'm trying to understand it more myself as I keep writing the book and as I keep interviewing more people and listening to more things. But this is actually a very interesting topic that you bring up right now, because yes, of course, if you have an NFT, let's say, or something that is very encrypted into the blockchain, you could actually track its owners and where it came from and who created it, et cetera, et cetera. Now, though, we are seeing things like, for example, the Meta Birkins that just came out like a week ago, and we see on the headlines right now a lot of articles writing about how Hermes is really trying to see what they're going to do about this, because it is their Birkin, it is their image. It's not someone from Hermes that has created it. It's a creator that actually did something before as well. This creator called Manson Rothschild had created before one called the Baby Birkin, which was a very famous Baby Birkin as well. I invite all of you to look it up if you have never seen it. It's a Birkin, and it kind of looks like there's a baby, like fetus, growing inside of it. And now it's a bunch of little Meta Birkins called, and these are like little furry cute little Birkins that are being sold as NFTs. And basically, there's this. So, is this counterfeit or not? Right? Because this is using the image and the symbol of a brand, and it's made by a creator. So, although you can track it, is it so? This is a question that brands are going to have to put legal measures, etc., to know how to go into this space in the right way. But also, there's other metaverses and in different metaverse platforms where people are starting to create. Actually, there's a case where there's someone, a creator, that has made a boutique, a Chanel boutique in the metaverse. So it looks like a Chanel boutique, and you can walk in, and there's the products of Chanel, but it wasn't created by Chanel. So this is the question of where, and the reason as to why I'm very curious about this subject and really want to learn more about it, because there's, yes, so things are going to have less of a possibility to have counterfeit, especially if you're having, for example, a digital twin copy of something that you buy, and you buy the NFT with it in order for you to really keep the track of it, but of other creators that are also making things, making creative content that maybe is not created by the brand itself. So that's another thing that will probably come into play, and that luxury brands will have to really see where and how to get into this space, because really, I'm, as I said, a very, very big futuristic optimist. And there's so much space for the luxury industry in the metaverse and in Web3. And there's so many applications, from blockchain to smart contracts to NFTs to building different scenes and scenarios for people to interact with a brand in the metaverse for luxury brands, especially because luxury brands, first of all, they sell a dream. They sell a dream. And as you said, they sell something that is almost intangible. It's not only the product. It's not just having a Chanel bag. It's having reached the moment where you can wear that Chanel bag. And for you, it's your moment of pride, right? For reoccurring clients, and for clients that maybe aren't consumers yet of the brand, that will one day be able to reach this dream. So this metaverse has endless capabilities. There's no gravity. There's so many capabilities to dream big and to make stories that will impact people's lives forever. So I really think that we won't only have to impact consumers in person, but also our avatars. So this is kind of where I'll leave it here. And there's so much more in the book. So I really encourage all of you, when the book is out in September 2022, to check out the book. And especially if you're in the industry, the book is really catered for anyone that wants to learn more about this future of the luxury industry. But if you're in the industry, it definitely is speaking to you.
I'm hoping for a sneak peek before the official release. I'll be brutally honest about this. I'm curious, are you struck for time, or can we continue? Because
We can
I'm loving
continue.
this conversation.
I'm good on time.
Great. So we have a couple of audience questions that I wanted to jump into, but just to wrap up this topic, my friend recently shared this interestingly sort of counterintuitively correct conclusion that when you think about even about the Mona Lisa in the Louvre, or even an Da Vinci painting, let's say you go to the Louvre, you're still standing in line behind a lot of people with their phones, and you can't really reach it. You're not really experiencing that painting. And that rings true for the majority of art in the world. The majority of eyes in the world haven't seen a piece of art XYZ by 123 in their personal space. They've seen it digitally already. They've seen it on their phone screen, they've seen it on their desktop screen, on their iPad, but they have been already experiencing it primarily in a digital way. So it's just something that, when in doubt, zoom out and just take a step back and perceive that we already have been on track to see this happen, right?
Right.
So we have a question. I think we've already answered it, but I just want to put it up just for the sake of it. Carlos asks, do you anticipate the metaverse having an impact on the luxury sector?
Oh, 100%. I really do think that the metaverse right now is a place to proceed with caution for the luxury industry. Of course, as you said, the luxury industry sets the trends. So whatever they decide to do will set future trends. And also, it's interesting because although 40% of all gamers and people that are right now in the metaverse, which is gamers are mostly the people that are in a constant in constant touch with the metaverse, really, until the rest of us that maybe haven't been in gaming too much will get there though as well. Right now, 40% of gamers in the world are females, but there's not that many female oriented spaces. So there's a lot. For example, Fortnite is a place where right now is already touching the luxury sector, and the metaverse is a place where Fortnite is a type of metaverse, and so a place where the luxury companies that feel that their values and their big pillars are maybe also responded to in those games or in those spheres where they can also interact. But in another way, if we have avatars, right, we're going to have to dress our avatars. And so basically, and to give a really a simple example, let's say you have your avatar and you go to simply because we were speaking about Chanel in the beginning, we can go ahead and keep using it as an example. So let's say you want to buy your first tweed jacket. And so you buy your first tweed jacket in the store, try it on, it's great, it looks amazing. You buy it and you want to buy its digital twin. What is its digital twin? So now you're going to have it in your digital space and in your physical space. So you will be able to wear it as a physical Carlota can wear her tweed Chanel jacket. And then my avatar also has her Chanel tweed jacket. And so in the metaverse, all of these brands will have to see how they're going to step in, first to tell stories, second to bring experiences that consumers have never seen before, to respond to different needs of consumers in the digital space, and to also dress and explore dressing in the digital space. Why do I say explore? Because maybe I will never be able to purchase an haute couture, high fashion dress, but maybe my avatar can wear one, right? And maybe this new dress doesn't have to really take on all of these different laws of gravity. We can have things coming out. We can have things that maybe weigh a lot in real life. There's going to have to be, right now we have professional people that work in the creation and the manufacturing of all of our clothing. What about luxury coders, right? And 3D modelers. So what is the texture going to sound like? What is it going to move like? Is wind going to pass by and change the way the fabric sounds, moves, bends when the avatar bends down? So there's all of these different possibilities and capabilities that we can explore more in the metaverse. And we've only seen a glimpse of it. I'm sure that there's so many more possibilities. This is honestly, we're like in 2000s with the .com boom. Now this is the next Web3 boom. And of course, the metaverse will have a great impact in the luxury industry because one way or another, they will make their way into it with a strong, I believe, presence and a way that will really bring desirability to another level and excite and really have this potential to enamor and to have this desirability of our clients, future clients, and current clients.
I'm loving how you unlock my creativity with regards to sort of the different forces of physics when it comes to the virtual world, where we were sort of freed from those, and even just the visuality of it all. Because, for example, right now you won't really have an orbit around a dress, will you? But in the digital world, hey, like
Why not?
what's going to stop you? And in terms of the creativity, we've seen that with NFTs. I think it was Disclosure, the music band, that they made the NFT of course, some of their pieces of audio content, but also that NFT is like a backstage pass. It's like a true fan badge that allows you to have
Exactly.
earlier access to things. We've actually had Harry Yeff, who goes by his stage name as Reaps One. Um, he is one of the world's top beatboxers. He has the fastest diaphragm, but he also merges the world of voice with the world of artificial intelligence, and he has created something called voice gems, where essentially you could have someone say, for example, their wedding vows, that is created into a digital gem that you can further print, and that actually becomes the gem that you wear on your wedding finger. So, for
It's
me,
amazing. Wow.
20 times more creative than just getting on a knee and giving the diamond. Of course, not
Definitely. If
now,
not
but
more than 20.
just the
No,
same.
100%. Yeah.
So, so
And
that's just
this will also be a big part where you're talking about in different type of these types of NFTs, right? It's not only ownership for digital things that you can have, but also passes for elite or VIP groups of clients, especially in the luxury world where this is something that there's a lot of already. So to be able to disclose different type of information, different type of fashion shows, even having metaverse fashion shows, you can really experience fashion collections without even having them in the physical world. You can actually experience them in the metaverse and then make them on demand. It's based on the demand of what people want. So this is also why I was saying they're all a little bit intertwined, where we can also hit sustainability with the metaverse and vice versa. So such an interesting space, and I really invite you all to kind of get excited about it as well, because obviously I'm very passionate about the topic. But thank you so much, Carlos, for that question.
Yeah, but let me flip that, because you pointed out only the good things about this. What kind of impact will it have if I won't be that much focused on let's take the most polarized example and then use a regular example. Let's say I'm a total social recluse. You won't see me at any party. I don't care about designer clothes that much, but hey, I'm big on gaming and I'm big in that community. Whatever will be the equivalent of what you've seen as Second Life in the metaverse, I want to own those things. So do you see that there will be the risk of, I gave the polarized example, but let's say even yourself or myself, will there ever be a situation for a potential customer to have a question, do I need the physical thing if I can get the digital thing? Won't I experience as a luxury brand something like cannibalization of, the digital thing might eat up the physical thing. I might no longer be in the market for the physical thing if I'm getting the digital one. What do you think about that?
That's a great point you're making, and I don't have the response to that. I
Just
have
predict, just
my point of view. I think that honestly, there's in I mean, if we're talking about two different entities, an avatar and yourself in the real world, or not even an avatar, right? Let's take the avatar out. When you're talking about physical or non-physical, do I want to buy? You pointed out before the Mona Lisa. So if the Mona Lisa was not in the Louvre and it was for sale, do I want to get the Mona Lisa or the Beeple NFT, for example, that sold for $69 million? Right. So now I have two different things. Is it the same for me to buy? Why would I want? Maybe I can just project my piece of art on my wall, right? Or I could hang a piece of art on my wall. So is one cannibalizing the other? It's a really good question, honestly. I'm not sure if it would cannibalize one or the other. I do know of some different situations, for example, where NFTs have gotten to be of a higher price range than the actual physical equivalent. So let's say a bag, the NFT of a bag has gone to be higher than the price of a bag itself. Well, that's a possibility. Now, brands will really, this will be the big challenge of brands, right? How does a luxury brand want to position itself in order for this not to happen? That will be, I think, one of the big challenges. And then once a second challenge is how we will also prioritize one good versus the other, one asset versus the other. Do I want to have Bitcoin, or do I want to have Ethereum, or do I want to have investments in some type of fund, or do I want to have cash under my bed? So there's like different types of ways that you can also have assets. And I really think it'll be interesting to see how people prioritize and if they rather buy maybe some really eclectic things for their avatar in their closet, and then maybe more like normal things for themselves in their day-to-day lives, and be a little bit more out there when they're in the metaverse. So I think that there'll be a lot of different ways. It's a great point to make, and it's a point that I think most companies will have to think about in order not to cannibalize themselves.
I mean, I'm thinking out loud here, but maybe we will see the physical items, of course, eventually, not like in 5 years, not in 10 years, but we will have mass adoption of the metaverse. Maybe it will become the equivalent of the physical CD of the album, right? Like you don't own these days that much, but if you
Yeah,
do, it's something a prized possession or a vintage vinyl CD, right? Sorry, vintage vinyl CD disc. Then maybe that's going to be the destiny of all those physical items that we know and treasure so much in our daily lives right now.
and then maybe thinking out loud as well, newness of things is really becoming more frowned upon, and because of its CO2 emissions, et cetera, of making manufacturing new things. So I imagine more buying more new things in the metaverse, and then having more of a conscious mindset of having secondhand, especially when we talk about clothing, secondhand clothing, upcycling, recycling of textiles, of different types of materials, really innovating on the materials for them to be either recycled materials or things that can be recycled in the future. And then for us to really look at more the new, the cool, the trend setting things in the metaverse. So there's a lot of ways to play this, and I think it'll be interesting, especially seeing how much our consumers are caring about certain values and goals and missions of brands. Now it's almost like they're buying into a company with purpose, right? And so this is buying into a brand with purpose. So it's really interesting to see all of this change, and we've seen only there's exponential change that's going to happen from now to 2040, and my book is about 2040. So let's see where we will be there, and I'm sure that when we get there I will say, oh my goodness, what was I thinking when I wrote this? But that is the curse of writing, of projecting books. So basically that's we'll see. We'll
I
see what
mean,
will
listen, I'm gonna make a reminder on Siri that we gotta check in 19 years from now to make sure that your predictions were on point.
projections. No
Project-
predictions. We don't have a
we don't have
just
a crystal ball, we don't have a time machine, but we can try, right? Um,
right.
yeah, I mean, I'm also thinking about the possibility right now. You don't really have the opportunity for lovers of brand X to have a meetup unless it's locally. Now you'll be able to have it, completely digitally. And even further to this argument that we're trying to make here, even I think it was 2017, I attended a VR conference in Bristol, and already there you had prototypes of gloves that allowed you to have a tactile sensation of the texture
Yeah,
of the thing, that you're not just the VR gloves, but also the ability to pick something up, and the gloves would sort
and
of
feel
stop
it.
you picked it up, and would let you know if it's smooth, if it's slightly rigid. So eventually, if it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, I mean, if it's going to have the same leather texture of the bag, at what point will you really need to have the physical one if you won't really be even spending that much time in the physical world? 2040, let's see.
True, true, true. And I think that that's such an interesting whole world as well. I mean, Mesh is doing that. The Microsoft Teams Mesh team, which is the team that is working on all of this metaverse for professional metaverse, they've been testing these gloves as well, and I think that it will definitely change the perception. And really, it's when we say a lot of times that it's all in your brain, right? And it's all, if you believe it happened, it happened. And if like a lot of people, when they talk about manifesting something, just make your or when you repeat something. I remember when I was a dancer, before I'd go on stage, I'd close my eyes and basically do the whole dance, imagining me actually doing the dance in my outfit, looking at in my costume, looking at the audience, feeling my fear of those butterflies in the stomach, not fear, sorry, feeling of butterflies in my stomach. And then I would do it, and it's like you had already done it once. So it's that possibility of your brain really thinking that it's real makes it real. So it's kind of like what you say about the duck. It's just definitely a perception. And so maybe if we spend too much time on the metaverse, we don't know, but we'll see. And this will be exciting to explore.
Especially define too much time, right? So speaking of dad shout outs, one to my own dad who's asking a question here, mentioning a fresh McKinsey report on fashion saying that 20% of the total growth predicted may come from infusion of AI into the digital element for the players. And do you believe this may be so important? I think we touched upon this, but let me sort of slightly change the angle of this. So in terms of AI, would we be looking mostly at digital assistants in terms of the future of fashion, of the innovation of fashion? Because if so, do you consider that will be something that will be like an auxiliary addition, or will it be one of the key drivers of change in terms of the fashion industry?
Well, considering well, first of all, thanks to your dad for this question. It's now that you're talking about dad shout outs, I have to confess, Carlos, the question from before, that is as well my dad. So
I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I had my spidey sense was tingling. Right?
So a lot of dad shout outs today. But thank you for this question. I think this definitely, especially if we're talking about personalization. Right now, we have what is called a passive virtual assistant. We think about Alexa, we think about Siri. We ask them in the morning, "Hey Alexa, what's the weather this morning?" I actually ask Alexa that every single morning, I think, and she tells me, "Good morning. Today is a high of X and a low of X," right? And thank you very much. All right, you continue with your day. Alexa, what's a nice coffee shop near me? And she tells you. And so this is a very passive relationship I have with Alexa. Alexa will tell me what I ask her. But imagine a world where Alexa isn't just Alexa, and maybe now her name can be whatever, his name can be whatever, or their name can be whatever. It doesn't matter what really kind of figure it takes. But basically, you can choose her voice, how she talks to you, how he talks to you. And let's just take Alexa as an example, so I don't have to keep saying she, he, and all of the pronouns. But basically, you take Alexa, and she can now understand when you wake up, at what time exactly you wake up, if you snooze or not. You say you want to wake up at 7:30, but you actually snooze every single morning until 8. I know you actually want to wake up at 8, not at 7:30. Although you tell yourself, "Oh no, my alarm always 7:30. I'm a 7:30er." No. Then you wake up and you take a shower, you get breakfast, you sit, am I going to work out? normally think I'm going to work out every day, but maybe today I don't. And so now Alexa knows that even if you say you work out every day, maybe sometimes you don't. So there's things that slowly Alexa will start learning, or your virtual assistant will start learning about you, that probably already knows about us. So we just don't really have a way of quantifying it. But basically, we will be at a point where our virtual assistant will tell you, there's some sneakers in your closet that you haven't worn in the past 6 months. Maybe you should consider either exchanging them for something else with a friend, or selling them in a secondhand platform, or maybe you should consider getting ones that you'll actually wear. Maybe these are too old, etc. And also we'll tell you where maybe you can go recycle them if you have to recycle them, or resell them if you have to resell them. This will be a much more proactive virtual assistant, a proactive virtual assistant that will tell you about brands that maybe are interesting to you, that will now there's like the marketing 2.0. How do you market to the virtual assistant and not to the consumer anymore? Because the virtual assistant is the one that will be speaking to you, right? Will you be able to have a virtual assistant that is branded? What if I want to live a Chanel lifestyle, Hermes lifestyle, Louis Vuitton lifestyle, right? Well, I want to subscribe to a lifestyle. I want you to tell me the coffee shop that a Chanel client or a Louis Vuitton client would take me to. I want you to tell me what restaurant, what airline, what hotel, what this. So basically, you will also be able to get, and this is also my projections. It's not a set in stone thing. So just reminding about all of this. But basically, I really believe that there will be a moment where virtual assistants will almost, and in the best way possible too. I think we will have enough deciding mechanisms in order to say how much she or he has power on what we do, and how much the AI can actually come control or not control what you say and do, and or actually think, right? Sometimes you can tell yourself, no, I'm super sustainable, and I only do shipping that is with the least CO2, now that there's a lot of companies that are giving that as an option. But then your virtual assistant knows if there's those days where you need it for tomorrow and you do next day shipping. So even if you say you always choose the most environmentally friendly way of shipping, she or he knows that your virtual assistant knows that actually sometimes you choose to go the other way. So basically, these are little things that are then will be recorded and will let personalization come into so much more of our life, and then of fashion, right? Imagine a company knowing so much about their clients that they can actually personalize, and not only personalize on physically, maybe writing their name on somewhere, or making, like right now you can do with a bunch of sneakers, you can personalize them, you can personalize sweaters, etc., which make them more unique, because basically luxury really goes off of desirability, uniqueness, and rarity, and exclusivity, right? So how can I make something more rare, more exclusive? Well, if I personalize it, I know no one else will have it like me. So this personalization will not only be only on products, but on the way services are done for them. So I definitely think that AI will push the fashion industry to, and especially the fashion industry is one industry, but the luxury fashion industry and the luxury industry as a whole, including beauty, including watches and fine jewelry, will be another step, because now virtual assistants will know when there's big moments in life where you maybe want some type of a ring or some earrings, and so you'll start going into that dynamic. Well, you won't only have to ask for things and be passive as we are now, but we will have a very proactive virtual assistant with us. So
Yeah, I
hopefully
mean,
that answers the question.
I mean, I'm speaking for that here. I hope it does answer my question. It also then got me thinking in terms of course, fashion will just be one of those elements. Where, for example, if you have Google Home Max, I believe, has a camera. Facebook Portal has a camera. So those assistants in their proactivity could even be like, "You are about to leave. Maybe not those shoes with not that dress. Maybe you want to, have a different look at that." But of
You
course,
want
that's
to
just
retouch your makeup?
yeah, you don't slay, right? Change up. So essentially, I see this as a bigger trend. What you mentioned, for example, Google. I'm a Google Home person. It has access
Uh-huh.
to my Uber. It has access to my calendar. If it recognizes that my calendar starts here, but my arrival times are somehow a few minutes late every time, it should be able to tell me proactively, you know what? You are telling me you're going to order an Uber in 5-10 minutes, but how about we do it now so you're not late again? There's a huge amount of space, and all of that data is already there. So I'm getting kind of impatient for brands to act on it because the connection is,
On it now.
yeah. Well, fingers crossed for Chanel Iberia. So, listen, just like someone in the comments mentioned, this discussion is way too exciting, and we're nearing 1.5 hour. Usually, these shows take 1 hour. So, if that's a testament to how much I'm enjoying this, and hopefully you are too,
Oh,
we have
thank
to
you. I'm
wrap up. I
enjoying
have
this
the
one.
last two questions.
Okay.
Um, the decision-making framework. You, as the head of innovation, any tips you can share with other leaders, peers in the space, how to improve decision making? So, just a rule of thumb, like a machete that allows you to cut through the complexity of everyday life decisions and just keep it moving.
Uh, I'll keep it quick since it's the last two questions. But for this question in particular, I personally use two machetes. One is having an ecosystem, and for me, an ecosystem has saved me and has really built what this team is today. And the ecosystem is, first of all, having people from different types of fields in innovation and seeing their thoughts and sharing ideas and sharing when you're making a big decision, so sharing it with them and see what maybe they think, and as well making it a collective also idea to really see what other people think in other spheres has really helped me, either internally or externally. Both of them are very interesting. And second, always having a sponsor, always having whenever we make a big decision, and whenever I make a big decision, either it's with my right hand on the team or with the team itself, or with a big sponsor in our CEO, for example, at Chanel Iberia, or we always have a sponsor in global in some shape or form, in order to innovation. There's so much, and sometimes there's a type of uncertainty on everything that is done, really, because this is the nature, the pure nature of our job is to do things that haven't been done before. And so there's always that security when you have a just someone that sponsors the idea, that maybe has more say in the company or has more experience, also really helps to push decisions forward, and to give you also that. I think it was a very old decision making tactic to do, and this is just my personal view, but a very old decision tactic to say this way or the highway, and this is how we're doing it, and we're going forward. This is absolutely not the way I operate in our team, and the way I operate in my day-to-day work. I really like sharing the situation at stake with first my ecosystem, external or internal, and second my team, and third, with no order, the CEO of the company, and making sure that we're in line with the strategy, and making sure that we have a sponsor for all of the decisions that we make as a team.
Sure, that makes absolute sense. A lot of our previous speakers also mentioned a sponsor, an evangelist, someone who's basically helping you push it through with regards to
An
anything.
idea can be a great idea, but without a good sponsor, it can also just stay there and go nowhere. So big proponent on good sponsors. Really lucky as
Exactly.
well to have sponsors that have pushed ideas forward.
And the last one, I'm giving you a magic wand. We've had time machines, we've had crystal balls. Here, I'm giving you a magic wand, and you are abracadabra. And every 12-year-old in the world is given the gift of education on what? We've heard emotional intelligence, design thinking, financial prudence. We've heard leave the kids alone, don't teach them anything. There's no right or wrong answer. There's just your answer and the justification behind it. So, abracadabra, and
Well, I think the most cliche answer for me would be design thinking, because we are an innovation team and we do use design thinking. But that's not my answer. Um, if I could really instill something in every 12-year-old's mind, I would maybe have them unlearn fear of failing, fear of asking questions, and the fear of just simply asking for help. I think that a lot of times in school, especially, they teach us there's a right and a wrong answer, good and a bad grade, um, good way to do something and a bad way to do something, good way to behave and a bad way to behave. So there's things that are important, of course, for some value metrics, but really the first is just losing that fear to ask questions in general, to asking those dumb questions sometimes. Oh, I'm not going to ask that. That's maybe everyone knows and they're going to think I'm stupid. Or there's honestly, I remember that when my parents would go to teacher parent teacher meetings, their only comment would be, your daughter actually asks all the questions that people wouldn't dare to ask. So really good on her part because people actually learn from her questions. And I think that, I don't know from where I've gotten this, but it's really pushed me to, and maybe it's the curiosity that is inside, but I really, really think my curiosity and my fearlessness to ask dumb questions, because I think no question is dumb. And so, first of all, that losing that fear, no fear of asking questions. Second, to lose fear of asking for help. For a lot of times, even, and I'm the biggest person that sometimes is fearful for asking for help, because I don't want to sound like I need too much help, or that I'm being annoying, or I want to make sure that I can do something on my own. Honestly, though, every big thing that has come up in my life so far, it's been through collaboration and through asking for help. And I think my book is a big, and thank you for your contribution again. But this is a way for asking for help, right? There's a crowdfunding web, and I had to get to a certain number of books sold, pre-sold, in order for me to publish the book. And this was a crowdfunding platform, and sometimes it's hard to ask for help, especially when it comes to monetary. But if you think of it, and if you think of how much you would be so happy to help another person, that's kind of what, if someone asked me for help, I would love to help them, right? And so why shouldn't I ask for help? And those, and I think Steve Jobs makes a really good point with this too. He said a really long time ago, I don't remember when, in his first years, he said, there's only one difference between dreamers and doers. Dreamers have a dream and just keep doing it with their own resources, and doers have a dream and ask for help to make it happen. And so this is a really big thing that I think we have to have all those 12-year-olds lose from their mind. No more fear of asking for help. And then lastly, losing the fear to fail. I personally now have decided that I don't believe in failure nor success. It's all about perception. And so basically, I mean, I could have thought to myself a year ago that this project, this augmented reality project that we worked on for 6 months didn't happen, right? It could have been a failure, but really, look at what a success it was, that we could build this team and now have an innovation. We are the only local market in Chanel Global to have an innovation team. So this is a great success. So some successes for that you can see things in two ways. And I think if I can instill something in order for 12 to lose the fear of success of failure is to always, every time you think you failed, take 3 gifts of your failure. So okay, I think I failed today doing this. What are 3 things that are gifts? And just stick with those 3 gifts. And suddenly, when I failed, or you could call it a failure of the first augmented reality project we wanted to launch, and it never ended up seeing the day. One of the gifts was maybe one day we will have a team that will work on transversal projects. And this was a success today. So take on 3 gifts of every single failure, and you'll realize that failure and success is only a perception.
So essentially, every 12-year-old should have a conversation inside their head with their own PR and marketing department about dropping the concept of success or failure and just more gratitude with anything that happens.
Yes.
That's a
And
very
get
solid
three
answer.
gifts.
That's an extremely solid answer. 1 hour 36 minutes. I'm loving this. As I said, Santa was very generous this year, but we do have to wrap it up. So Carlota, thank you so much for today's episode. I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
call it a Christmas special just due to the fact of the breadth of the topics that we spoke about and the duration. And I wanted to thank everybody who's been with us over this year and the ending of 2020 when we just started Disruption Talks, and now we're over 50 episodes. So Carlota, thank you for being a part of this. Dear audience member, thank you, audience members, thank you for being here with us. And this is the last episode of this year. The next one will be on the 4th of January. So please enjoy your holidays, enjoy your New Year's Eve celebrations, and we will see you again in your front row seats on the 4th of January on the next episode of Disruption Talks. Thank you so much.